Hey everyone, welcome back to the Stitch Sessions and welcome to another installment in our Home Sweet Home series. I am so excited to show you guys this month's project. And I think that this one, I know it's only August, but I have a sneaky suspicion this is going to be my absolute hands down favorite project of this series. If you guys are new here, my name is Karen and I love everything to do with crochet and crafting with crochet. And as you can see here, we have crocheted this lampshade cover. Now, every year I do a themed series. Some people do crochet alongs with like temperature blankets and things like that. I like to do themed series where we can work on a variety of projects that adhere to the theme of that year. So for 2024, our theme is Home Sweet Home. And look at how adorable this lampshade cover is. So I lean a little bit more towards the romantic kind of vintage antique style. So I found this lamp at Home Sense and I just loved it. The only thing is the original shade, if I just pull this up here, it's just simply glass. So you can see the bulb in there. So I guess it was kind of the designer's way of kind of bringing it around to a somewhat modern element juxtaposed with this kind of traditional styling. The only thing is when it's just sheer glass, it's really super bright. So I put a bulb in there and it's just way too bright. So that's when I had the inspiration to crochet a shade cover. And this whipped up so quickly and actually much easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to have to fiddle with a lot of increases and decreases. And in fact, we just had to start with our little circle at the top. We did a couple of rows of increases and the rest was super easy. No more increases. And it created this beautiful, beautiful shade cover. And then at the end here, I just added this little kind of trim here with V stitches. And then I just did a little sprig stitch edging for a little effect. Now in the video, you'll see that you're kind of coming along with me on my experiment. And I do talk about the possibility of adding a tassel round at the bottom. And I really debated whether or not I was going to do that. In the end, I decided not to. And I'm really happy with the result, but I encourage you guys to experiment and see what tickles your fancy. And, oh, I should show you guys what it looks like when the light is on. Is that not the most gorgeous thing you have ever seen? Oh my goodness, I cannot get over it. In fact, I am kind of disappointed there wasn't a matching lamp to this, because sometimes you can find them, you know, at Home Sense. And for those of you that are in the States, it's probably Home Goods. Sometimes it's mismatched and sometimes you can find pairs, but there was not a second one of this because I totally would have gotten a second one. So love this. So are you guys ready to get started on this? This is my favorite project. Cannot wait to dive in and show you guys this. So let's get going. Okay, so here are the materials that I'm using for my shade. I'm using my favorite cotton yarn, which is Lion Brand's 24/7. You've seen me use this in a lot of projects. It's a mercerized cotton and it is medium 4 weight. And it just has this beautiful little, just a bit of a sheen, I guess you would call it. And it's got nice strength and it's 100% cotton. So it's great for things that may absorb water or come in contact with high heat. And because we're using this for a lampshade, I thought this would be perfect. If you're going to create a lampshade like I am, or a lampshade cover, I don't know about using acrylic yarn. It's possible. I guess it depends on how close your bulb is to the actual shade. In my case, it's a pretty narrow shade, so I am definitely going to use 100% cotton. Okay, and I've got one skein here, and these skeins come in 100-gram balls, which equals to 186 yards or 170 meters for those of you that are interested. Okay, and the color is ecru. It's kind of like a light beigey antique color, which is perfect for what I'm looking for. So that's the yarn I'm going to be using. And then the hook size is a 4mm hook. Hopefully you guys can see that there. It's a 4mm hook, and it's also known as a G or a size 6. I'll put a graphic up on the screen. That's really hard to see. So that's the hook. And then as always, make sure you have a yarn needle on hand to weave in your ends and a handy pair of scissors to snip your yarn. You will, of course, also need the shade that you're making the cover for. So this is mine. It is a glass shade. Yours might not necessarily be a glass shade. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. So I'm not going to crochet over this opening because this is how I'm going to insert it back into the light. Now, in case you're wondering, my opening here, I've already measured it. It is 6 inches in circumference, which is about 15 centimeters. So if you have something similar to mine, this is just going to give you a basic idea of sizing. Now, the only thing with this particular shade is it starts small. It expands a little bit on the top, so we're going to do some increases here. But then it continuously expands and expands and expands all the way to the bottom. So it's not like it just expands and then goes straight down. It is not a perfect cylinder. It does have a little bit of a flare, as you can see. So this is going to be interesting to figure out how and where to place my increases. So if you're a little newer and you want to try this project, I would definitely recommend something that is perfectly cylindrical, so that way you don't have to worry about continuous increases as we go along. If you're a bit more experienced, then you can just kind of gauge it as you go, try it on as you go. If you feel like it's getting snug, then you'll know that you need to create some more increases along the way. So my shade at the very bottom, at its fullest, comes out to 18 inches, which is 46 centimeters. So that's quite a difference. That's 3 times the circumference of the top. So there's definitely going to be quite a bit of increasing. So let's dive in and begin with the top of our shade. Okay, so we're going to begin by placing a slip knot on our hook here. And what we're going to do is we're going to chain, or we're going to make a chain until we get the length that goes around the circumference of our opening. So I'm just going to start making a few chains here, and then I will measure it as I go along. So just yarn over and pull through. And remember, don't do them too tightly, but we also don't want them to be too loose either. Okay, so I've chained up 24, and then what I did here is just brought my shade in, and then I just put it around the opening here. So let me see. So it's pretty snug, but I'm okay with that. I want it to be snug here, and then we're going to flare out in a moment. So I've done 24 chains. That is going to get me around a 6-inch circumference. And by the way, if you have a lampshade that doesn't close in at the top, like maybe it's perfectly cylindrical, so the top opening is exactly the same as the bottom, then you would do the same thing, but you would probably start somewhere around here and go all the way around. Okay, so once you have the length of chain that is going to work for you, you want to find the very first chain you did, and be careful not to twist it. And you want to insert your hook right into there. And we want to slip stitch to join this into a ring. So just like that. Okay. And you can see it has a nice little bit of stretch, so I'm pretty happy with that. And now we're going to begin on row number 1. So what we're going to do is we are going to use single crochets for this first round, and we will be doing some increases. So what we're going to do is we're going to place 2 single crochets into each stitch. And I'm being quite aggressive with these increases because we want the first few couple of rounds to lay flat, because remember, we're going over a curve. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the very next stitch or the next chain, and you're going to insert your hook, and you are going to place 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochets. And don't worry if that's going to stretch a little bit. It'll all kind of settle down once you get more around. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different. So there's 2 single crochets there, and then you would do 2, 2, 2, 2 all the way around. I'm actually going to work into the back bumps of the chains. So right now, when you look at the front of the chains, you see these little V's. That's usually where you would go into. Every now and then there are projects where I like to go into the back bumps. And so these are the bumps right here. So I would just go in through the bump. And it just allows your first edge to be nice and finished looking. If you find it a little bit kind of finicky, please just go in through the first stitch. It's totally, totally fine. But that is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to kind of turn my work a little bit here. And that is the first bump there. So I am going to do 2 single crochets. So there's the first one, and then there is the second one. Okay, so there's 2, and then I find the next bump, which is right there, and you'll have to help it along a little bit. And this is why it's really important never to chain your first chain super tight, because you want to be able to get in there. So there's a single crochet, and then there is a second one. So nice and straightforward. So remember, I started with 24 chains. If I place 2 single crochets into each chain, at the end of row or round number 1, I will have 48 stitches. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet up with you for round number 2. Okay, so I have finished my first round, and you can see it's curling and buckling, and that is normal because the idea is I need it to sit or to lay flat. See that? At the top. So I'm just going to take my shade here, and I'm going to place it on top and make sure that it still fits. I haven't slip stitched to join yet, by the way. I should probably do that. So I'm just going to find that first stitch right there. It's a little bit tight at the beginning. And I'm just going to slip stitch to join. There we go. Okay. So this is the outer edge, or the rows we'll be working into. And then now you can see that the bottom of that edge is nicely finished. Okay. So I'm going to get my opening, and this is the time when you want to make sure that your count and your decision was correct. So, yep, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, because this is going to, there's a little, you put this on top, and then you kind of screw a little tightening nib there, and then you put the light bulb in. So this will sit nice and flush, and that looks pretty good. So I'm happy with my stitch count. And now we're going to go on to round number 2, and we need to keep doing some increases. So for this next round, what I'm going to do is I am going to use the linen stitch. And that's just a combination of single crochets and chain stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to go right back into that very first stitch there, and I'm going to single crochet. Nice and easy. Okay, and if it's a little easier for you, I recommend you placing a little marker or safety pin there because it's easy to miss that. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. Let me see. There we go. Just going to put a little marker in there. It just makes it a lot quicker and easier to see where that first stitch is. And so once you've done a single crochet, you will chain 1. Okay, so we're using the linen stitch, but we still have to keep increasing. So what we're going to do, so we've already done 1 single crochet. We're going to go into the next stitch. We're going to place a single crochet, but then we're going to chain 1. Okay, so we're going to go into the next stitch. We're going to place a single crochet. Then in the next stitch, we place a single crochet, chain 1. Okay, and that is the repeat. Single crochet, then single crochet, chain 1. And by chaining 1, that increases the number of stitches. So it's still going to allow us the ability to kind of spread out that circular fashion there, or that circular shape there, and we can still use that funky little stitch. Okay, so do that all the way around for round number 2. Okay, so I've come up to the end of my 3rd round, and I just ended on a single crochet, chain 1, and that brings me back to my very first stitch. So I'm just going to take that out, and I'm going to slip stitch to join round number 3. And at the end of round number 3, I will have 72 stitches. That includes all those chain 1s. Okay, so again, it's going to ripple. I've already been putting it on top of my opening here, and it is fitting just beautiful. See how it's actually stretched out a little bit? So we are a-okay. In fact, I'll probably just weave in that end in future just to get it out of the way and not confuse you guys. So if yours was perfectly cylindrical at this point, because we're right on the edge, you could probably afford not to increase anymore and then just keep going with the same stitch count until you reach the bottom. Mine, however, does have a curved shape, so I'm going to do another round of increases. And for round number 4, I'm going to be using double crochet stitches. So this is where things are going to get a little interesting. And I'm going to start creating a little bit of a design here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by chaining 3. So we have 1, 2, and 3. So I've got 3 chains here. It is going to count as a double crochet stitch. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the very next stitch, which is right here, and I'm going to place another double crochet stitch. Okay, just like that. Okay. And then into the next stitch, which technically would be the chain 1. You probably can't see it too much, but you can look at the top and see that there's another stitch there. We're going to place 2 double crochet stitches in there. So we're going to just insert under that chain, and we have 1 and we have 2. Okay, just like that. So you will continue repeating this fashion all the way around. So into the next stitch, I'm going to just place 1 double crochet and then 1 into the next. Some of them are going to be a little bit tighter there. And then we have 2 into the next one, which is that chain 1 space there. So as long as you get under that chain 1, you are good to go. So we've got 1 double crochet and then back into that same spot, 2 double crochets. Okay, so we're still increasing, but our pattern is 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. So there's going to be 2 individual stitches in between each of our increases. Okay, so continue with that fashion all the way to the end of round number 4. Okay, I'm just slip stitching to join round number 4, and I have something that looks like this. And yes, it is rippling quite a bit, and for a moment there I panicked, but when I get my shade out here and I put it over it, once I smooth it out a little bit, it actually starts to conform to the curvature of the shade here. And once I do subsequent rounds, which I'm not going to increase for a little while, this is going to smooth out because there will be no more increasing. So I know it's hard to imagine right now, but you can see it's already starting to curve. And again, because it's going to bubble out and I'm not going to increase in the next round or two even, it should work out quite nicely. So you guys are figuring out this experiment along the way with me. So let's go on to round number 5, and I'm going to show you the little pattern I'm going to use for the general look of this shade. So I'm going to use a combination of a couple of double crochets and then some X stitches. Okay. So, and by the way, at the end of this round, I have 96 stitches, which is perfect for my design idea because I wanted to make sure I had a multiple of 4, a nice even multiple of 4. So what we're going to do to begin is we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and that counts as a double crochet stitch. And then I go into the next stitch and I will just place a double crochet. Just like that. Okay. Now into the next stitch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the next stitch and I'm going to go into the following stitch and I'm going to place a double crochet. So I skip the next stitch, I double crocheted into the following stitch, so you can see it creates a bit of a little gap there. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to just kind of sneak in behind. So I'm doing like a little bit of a behind, and I'm going to double crochet through there. Now some people will go in through the front, just creates a slightly different look. So this is the X'd stitch, and it looks like that, like a little tiny X. Okay, so we're going to do that again. That is the repeat all the way around. So I'm just going to do 2 double crochets into the next 2 stitches. So I work a double crochet there, and then a double crochet here. And remember, this in this round I am not doing any increases, so I'm just placing 1 stitch into every single stitch. So I've done 2 double crochets, and then next I'm going to skip the next stitch and double crochet into the following stitch, and then I'm going to come back and double crochet into the missed stitch. So I'll yarn over, and so like I said, some people will go in through the front and just finish the double crochet as usual, and it's just as nice. I like the look of going in behind. It just, for me, it gives it just a little bit of a thicker texture. See, this one almost looks like a V. So that is why I like to go in from behind, but it is totally up to you. So I'm going to find that skip stitch, and instead of going in through the front, I'm going to sneak in from behind and then finish my double crochet as usual. Just like that. Okay, so you're going to do 2 double crochets and an X stitch. So the X stitch also takes up 2 stitches. See, just like that. So it's going to create a couple little eyelets like that, which is really, really nice. So 2 double crochets, X stitch, 2 double crochets, X stitch, etc., all the way around for round number 5, and your stitch count should remain the same at 96 if you're following along exactly with my size of shade. Okay, so round number 5 is complete. I've slip stitched to join, and I've even woven in that pesky little tail there so you can see. So it is buckling here, but I think actually this is a happy accident because I don't think I'm going to need any further increases. So it's going to be a little bit looser on the top, but as you can see, when I press it down a bit, you can see that it's going to fit just fine over the curvature. And I think I'm going to get away with going for quite a bit without needing any more increases. So round number 5 is complete. So you can see it's starting to shape over the glass. And now I'm no longer going to increase. So we're just going to continue repeating round number 5. So I'm just going to get you started onto round number 6. And you will begin again with 3 double crochets. It will count as a double crochet stitch. So you can see I slip stitch there. And then you will double crochet into the next stitch. And so as you repeat this pattern, hopefully, if it works out correctly, you will notice that the 2 double crochets will always sit on top of each other. Every time you see 2 double crochets, they'll sit on top of each other. And every time you see the X stitch, it should sit one on top of the other. So you will skip this next stitch, and into the following stitch, you will do that double crochet. And then you'll come back to the missed stitch right there, and you will double crochet. So there's a lot of stitches close together right now, so it might be hard to see, but as you repeat more rounds, I think you'll see that this cute little pattern will come to light. So you're just going to keep repeating this now for as many rows as you need for the length of your shade. And again, if yours is perfectly cylindrical, then you're pretty much good to go. You're just going to keep doing this until you get your desired length. So now I'm doing that X stitch. I'm coming back to the skipped stitch and double crocheting. Okay, so just so you can see a few that I've done there. So that's the X stitch on top of this one, 2 double crochets on top of 2 double crochets, and then the X stitch again. I know it's kind of hard to see with cream on white, but so that is it. So no more increasing now. You're just going to continue doing rounds and rounds until you either are able to reach the bottom, but see how mine will get wider. So I'm just going to do mine for as many rounds as I can until I start feeling that it's getting a bit snug, which might be around here based on the way I have my increases. And then once I come to here, then I will add some increases. But I'll meet up with you guys when I reach that point. So I'm going to do some rounds. I'm going to continuously try it on, make sure that it fits okay. I want it to be somewhat snug but not tight, and so as long as it slips on comfortably. I don't want it to be too loose either, because I do want it to sit nice and flush to the shade. So that is going to be me for the next little while. So I'll meet up with you in a bit to talk about my progress. So I'll meet up with you in a bit to show you my progress. Okay, so there has been a very, I don't know if you would call it an accident, but I actually have not ever needed to do any more increases. So the last time we left off, I had 96 stitches when I was just starting to continue, and I have maintained 96 stitches. So the shade is in, so you can see it's, you know, it's not tight, but it just sits nicely, pretty close to the glass here. So I'm just going to take this out because it looks pretty flush. This is the right side, which is the side I've been working on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it inside out, because this is the side. Remember how I was doing those X stitches? This is the side where you can see that ribbed effect, which I think looks really, really cool. So I have a safety pin here. So if you look on this side, because what I did decide to do is after row or round 10, I just thought I'd experiment. Instead of doing decreases, I just went down a hook size. So I had a 4 before, so I just went down to a 3.75 millimeter hook. Not sure if you can kind of see that there, but in case you're wondering, it's an F or a size 5 if you go by that size. So, you know, I just went down from a 4 to 3.75, not that big of a difference, but it was just a really, really subtle way of just kind of decreasing the, I guess, the gauge a little bit, and that was plenty. So I have done a total of 17 rounds in total, and as you can see, it's taking me just about to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little trim round of some V stitches. And I've been debating whether or not I'm going to maybe put some tassels along the bottom, which I think might look really cool. The only thing is that this is what I have left, which should be enough to do those last 2 rounds, but I don't know if I'll have enough left to do a tassel, and I'm still kind of going back and forth with regards to if I want that look, because then it would be a matter of, well, how long would the tassels be? Maybe should I add a little bead to the tassels? Like, it could just be a whole thing. So I think I'm going to keep it simple. So let's go on to just round number 18. And I think I'm going to do 2 rounds. I might do 3. We'll see. But this is going to be the pattern. So this is, I've got it back to the right side here. So I'm just picking up where I slip stitch to join, and I am just going to keep continuing with the 3.75 millimeter hook. So what I'm going to do is I am going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to add 1 more. So the chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet, and the 4th one is going to count as a chain 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to double crochet right back into that same spot right there. And that is my first V stitch. Okay, so you have something that looks like that. And this is the stitch we're going to do for this round. So what's going to happen next is you're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So you have 1 and 2, and into the following stitch you're going to place another V stitch. So I'm just going to insert my hook, double crochet, I'm going to chain 1, and then double crochet again back into the same spot. See, 2 V stitches there. And then you just continue. You skip the next 2, 1 and 2, and then into the 3rd stitch you will do a V stitch. Pretty straightforward. If you've been with me for a while, you have seen that I have actually covered this as a basic stitch tutorial. And we've done other projects where we've used V stitches. And if you're interested, I will put a link to those in the description box down below. But this is what it's going to look like. So it's just going to give you a little bit more of an airy trim just to differentiate the edging there. So you're going to go ahead and do that all the way around. And just to make sure everything ends up evenly, for those of you that are a little bit newer, I will meet up with you just at the end here of this first round to make sure we can attach our final round smoothly. So go ahead and finish round number 18, and I will meet you in just a little bit. Okay, so this ended up working out perfectly. I've just done my last V stitch here, and I have 1, 2 stitches left, and then my 3rd one already has the next V. So this is where I'm going to slip stitch to join, and I'm going to find the top of the 3rd chain, which is right here, and then I'm just going to slip stitch. And round number 18 is complete. There you go, just like that. And you can see it just creates a little bit more of a defined edging there. Isn't that nice? So I am going to go ahead and do 2 more of these rounds, which I think will just bring me right down just below the edge of the shade. So when you begin anew, you will just chain 3, 1, 2, 3 for your double crochet, a 4th one for your chain, then double crochet and go back into that same spot where you slip stitched. So your V is now sitting on the right leg of the previous V. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to go into the next V here. Now it is 3 stitches away because you have the chain 1, 1, 2, and then into the third one is right there. So it just so happens it's always going to end up being on top of the right leg of the previous V, or the V from the previous round. So see that? So this was the right leg and this was the right leg. And so it's much easier. You just kind of go to the next V and go into the top of that stitch, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. And that's how you would begin the next round and continue on. So it's going to just create a little bit, yeah, I kind of like that. It's going to give it just a little bit of a lacier edging. And then you are just about done. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my rounds. This is round number 19, and I'm going to do it for round 20 as well. Okay guys, so there's been another little development. So this is just the end of round 19. I said I was going to do up to round 20, and I still am. So you can see it's just creating a little pretty lacy effect there. But instead of doing another round of V-stitches, I was experimenting, and I'm actually going to do round 20 is going to be the finishing round, but I'm going to do kind of like a little variation on like the sprig stitch, and it'll just create a really pretty little peaked type of edging. So I'll show you what I mean. So this is round 20. I've just slip stitched to join. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go directly into this space here, and I'm going to single crochet just like that. And then I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to go back into that V stitch, and I'm going to single crochet again. Okay, so it's basically like a V stitch, but it's got a few extra chains, and it's just going to create a little bit of a peaked or scalloped edging. So then immediately what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the next V stitch, and I'm going to single crochet, chain 2, 3, and then single crochet again, and that is going to be my repeat. So every time I see a V stitch, I go in, I single crochet, then I chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then I go back into that V stitch and I single crochet again. And that is what it looks like. So if I turn it this way, if it's sitting on the shade, see how it's just creating a really little pretty peaked edge. I'm so happy with that. And actually, for those of you that will go ahead and do a little tassel at the end, you could actually work the tassels into these little chain 3 spaces, and it would just look so beautiful and really polished. So I have decided I'm not going to do the tassels, but for those of you that do this project and do the tassels, please do tag me, because I want to see what it looked like in the end. So remember, you can find me on Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. I'm also on Facebook, but I usually check my Instagram a lot more frequently. So make sure to tag me if you decide to do the tassels. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and now finish the last round, which is round number 20, and then our shade is going to be complete. Okay, so I just want to show you, I came up to the very end. I've done the last little sprig stitch inside the V, and now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch into that very first single crochet, and I am done. So I'm going to snip my yarn. Whoops. And I think I'm actually just going to pull it through so it's nice and even. And then I'm going to weave in that end so it just hides it in there nice and flush. And that is the final round, round number 20. See how it creates that pretty little scalloped edging? And now I'm going to turn it inside out, which will make it look like the right side, so you can see the ribbing. Look at how gorgeous that is. I'm really happy with how this came out. I kind of had the vision for it, but you know, I always get really excited when things turn out kind of how I envisioned it. So the shade fits in beautifully so you can see that the glass, the edge of the glass now just sits on the inside of that little edging there. And there you have it. So I am going to put this on the base of the lamp now, and I'll put a little clip in here of how it looks. I am so thrilled with how this came out. I think it was quick, it was easier than I thought it was going to be, and it just gave this a lamp just a little bit of extra warmth, which is what I felt was missing from it. And I love how it just diffuses the light so beautifully. And for me, it's just exactly what I wanted. So what do you think? Do you like how this shade gave it just a softer effect, or would you have kept the glass? I know a lot of people who like more of the modern look probably would have kept the glass, but I just found that it was just slightly too bright. So I'm really excited about this one, and I hope that you really liked this latest Home Sweet Home project. It was our project for the month of August, and I am actually currently working on September's Home Sweet Home projects. So you will see that in a few weeks' time. And if you're new here and you've missed some of our earlier projects from this year, there's always a link to the playlist in the description box down below of all the other projects that we've done in this series for 2024. So if you have any detailed questions, please do feel free to leave them for me in the comment box down below. And or if you have any suggestions for your fellow crochet friends based on your experience of how your shade came out, please make sure to share it with us. We are a great community here of crochet lovers and craft lovers, and we're here to help each other out. So make sure that you do that. And of course, like I said before, come say hi to me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. And if you're new here and you enjoyed this tutorial, I invite you to come hang out with me every Wednesday morning. So make sure to click that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you'll get notified every time a new video goes live. That's it for me today, gang. I will see you next week with another fun stitch tutorial, and I think you will find it very, very useful, especially based on the project we did today. So it's a little hint there for you. All right, guys, have an amazing day. Happy crocheting. Take good care of yourselves as always, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.